And we kick it off right here. United Nations leaders on the ground here in Davos, Switzerland. Officials say there is a growing need for business leaders to give input in order to help solve some global important issues. Joining me right now in a First on Fox interview is UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Secretary General, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us what kind of issues you would like the business community to get involved in.
I think that the business community is vital today because governments alone cannot solve the dramatic combination of problems that we face, from the economic slowdown to the problems of climate change, the problems of inequality. I truly believe more and more that we need a solid partnership between governments and the private sector, between international organizations and the private sector, the business community, in order not only to do things, but also to strategize, to discuss, to define policies, and to make sure that the policies that are defined at political level can be easily implemented by businesses. Because one thing is true, we will never achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we will never bring more equality to this world, we will never have a successful globalization if the private sector does not take the lead and if the private investment is not the engine of the global growth.
Of course. Secretary General, tell me, in your view, what is the primary role of the United Nations today?
Well, the primary role is always to preserve or try to preserve peace and security. I mean, my most important moment last month was to be in Stockholm to make sure that there would be an opportunity for peace in Yemen. So that is the most important role of the United Nations. Then another area in which the United Nations today is, I believe, completely irreplaceable is humanitarian aid. The United Nations represents more than half of the global humanitarian aid. Just to give you an idea, last year we helped 100 million people in 40 countries, mobilizing $15 billion. As we speak today, the World Food Programme, that supports annually 90,000 people, has 4,000 trucks moving, 92 planes moving, and 20 ships moving, just to bring food to people in the most remote areas of the world where famine is again with the risk of progressing. Humanitarian aid is something in which I believe the UN excels. Then the other areas in which the UN has a key role to play is to bring together countries to discuss central issues of the international community, the issues of global development, and make sure the development benefits all, that globalization and technological progress does not leave people behind.
Yes. The
questions of climate change, the questions of the fourth industrial revolution, technological evolution, and the form of these to be a force for good and not an increase of risks, as we see today in many aspects, namely in the dark web, for instance. So it's to try to bring together countries in order to take profit of the enormous potential that exists in the world, for that potential to translate in benefits for the people of the world.
Do you feel a need to modernize the United Nations today? What kind of changes would you like to see, given the new issues that the world faces?
We are doing a very deep reform in the Secretariat of the United Nations, a reform that is basically simplifying procedures, decentralizing decisions. I have written a letter to 200 leaders of the United Nations around the world, giving them authority to deal with budgetary issues, with the staff issues, with procurement, in order to bring decisions closer to the people that benefit from those decisions. And we established a new system of transparency and accountability to make sure that taxpayers in all countries of the world that support the UN can see that we really produce value for money. And this reform is absolutely crucial to make us more effective and more cost effective.
For sure. Let me bring you to some of the news of the day. And of course, this is the crisis in Venezuela that we want to get your take in. Protests and clashes breaking out after opposition leader Juan Guaido declares himself interim president, challenging current leader Nicolas Maduro. The Trump administration backing Guaido's leadership plans. Maduro says he's cutting off diplomatic ties after that decision. Vice President in the U.S., Mike Pence, weighed in on the situation on Trish Regan prime time last night. Listen to what the Vice President of the United States had to say.
But the real work lies ahead, and the United States is going to continue to bring the full weight of our economic and diplomatic pressure until freedom and democracy and fair elections are restored for the people of Venezuela.
Your reaction?
Well, we are extremely worried with the situation in Venezuela. We think it's absolutely essential to avoid violence. It's absolutely essential to have restraint, especially restraint from the point of view of the forces, of police forces and other security forces. And it's absolutely essential to create conditions for a dialogue to be possible in order to... The worst thing we could have would be a civil war in Venezuela. We need to avoid it at all costs and create conditions for the establishment of a normal democracy in Venezuela.
This was part of your speech today in Davos, right? You talked about dialogue. Do you think dialogue is possible?
Dialogue is, in all situations in the world, our role.
Right.
I mean, the Secretary General of the United Nations has no power. I don't recognize governments. I don't recognize countries. The only power, I follow the instructions of the Security Council. The only power I have is good offices. And good offices are only good if the parties accept those good offices to establish some dialogue. And unfortunately, in many parts of the world, we see that dialogue is not possible, and we see situations becoming more and more dramatic and people suffering. And it's the suffering of people that, of course, is what worries me more.
What is the most important issue facing the world today from your standpoint?
From my standpoint, the most dramatic situation is that we have a proliferation of conflicts. Conflicts are becoming more and more interlinked and linked to a threat of global terrorism. And the response to those conflicts has been fragmented. We have the Security Council largely paralyzed because of divides among the biggest powers. We have sometimes others, when power relations become unclear, small actors get involved in the situations in different points of the world and complicate things. We absolutely need, and we are trying to do it at all costs, a surge in diplomacy for peace, and to bring those that can have an influence on the situations of conflict to explain that these wars that we witness are wars nobody wins. There are no military solutions. The solutions must be solving the root causes of the conflict and making sure that peace prevails.
Were you happy that the United States president said he wanted to withdraw the troops out of Syria?
What I truly believe is that the engagement of the United States in international affairs is a very important element in order for global problems to be solved. I'm a strong supporter of American engagement. I don't want to pronounce myself on this or that military decision. That's up for the U.S. to decide.
Understood.
But the engagement of the U.S. in world affairs is a very important component for the solution of global problems.
Secretary General, it's very good to have you on the program today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for your insights. Antonio Guterres joining us there.